The luck of the Irish.
What's going on, guys? Mr. Jason back here again with another video for you guys. And happy St. Patrick's Day, happy St. Patty's Day. This is going to be a themed special tribute type video to the Leprechaun movies, the horror Leprechaun movies, not any other. There's plenty of other Leprechaun movies out there, but this is specifically going to be about my Leprechaun movie collection and slash reviews slash, top best to worst or worst to best, vice versa, whichever. But yeah, so we're just gonna kick it off with this horror collection of Leprechaun right here, the complete movie collection, and then of course the reboot. Not really a reboot, it was somewhat an attempt to bring back the Leprechaun franchise. I'll get more into that as this video goes on, but yeah, so basically these movies in a way somewhat connect, but for the most part none of them really have a full connectivity together. But yeah, so we're gonna start with the first one. It's all in one case, so I can't really show you special artwork and all that, but basically you're gonna see here you get the first one, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh. So we're gonna start off with Leprechaun 1. That came out, I believe, in 1993, and I do remember just going to Shaw's, the supermarket. They actually rented videos out back in the day, and the first time I ever came across this VHS, because it was VHS at the time, and I saw the scary Leprechaun, and he was peeking out through that door from the front cover artwork. I'll show you guys right here during this video. I'll pop that picture up. But yeah, no, as a kid, I loved horror movies, so when I saw that, I was like, oh, I gotta rent this. I rented it. Of course, it scared the crap out of me, so that little kid in me still gets scared from this Leprechaun. It's not as scary as it was back then, but so yeah, I rented it, and to me it was the best one of all of them. It was the one that introduces the Leprechaun. It was the most serious of the franchise, even though it did have some of its own humor throughout the movie, which is good. It's horror comedy anyways, but this was the more serious Leprechaun movies of all, just out of all of them, and to me it's my favorite and best one. It's basically about, alright, so this guy captured the Leprechaun's gold, and he actually captured the Leprechaun himself and brought him back home. Was telling his wife, you know what, we're rich, we're going to be moving out of this dump, the house that they lived in, we're going to be moving out of this dump. And of course, the Leprechaun, him and his magical ways, changes his voice and tricks the guy's wife into thinking it was a kid in a suitcase when she let the Leprechaun out. You know how that went. He basically killed the lady and wanted his gold back, so he wanted to know, Mr. O'Grady was his name, where the gold was. And Mr. O'Grady was able to get the Leprechaun down, put him into a crate, and the Leprechaun used some magic powers to basically give him a stroke. So Mr. O'Grady had a stroke, and then it basically goes 10 years later to where Jennifer Aniston's character Tori and her dad are moving, I think, from LA to I forget the town that they were moving to, or state, and they go to the house that this all happened, where the Leprechaun was in the crate. They go to the house. They got a good deal on it because it was abandoned, basically, because the guy, he didn't die, he was just, in some kind of rehab due to the stroke. And Ozzy, Alex, Nathan, the three guys that were painting the house, they all come across Jennifer Aniston's character and her dad. They all get introduced to each other. And Ozzy, he's, I guess, wasn't mentally his actual age. That's my guess. That's what it seemed like anyways. He was more of a child. And him and Alex ended up finding the gold. Just randomly showed up in the truck. And him and Alex kind of wanted to hide it and get him appraised to see how much they could actually get. So, of course, the Leprechaun pretended again with his little voice that it was a little girl trapped inside a crate, tricked Ozzy. Ozzy took the 4-leaf clover off the crate. That's the only way that the crate would be able to maintain the Leprechaun without him escaping on his own, was the 4-leaf clover. So Ozzy made the mistake, wiped it off, the Leprechaun broke out, and it all goes from there. But basically, the Leprechaun just wants his gold, that's it. Give him his gold, he'll leave you alone. If you give him his gold and it's missing one, you're screwed, that's it.
A missing coin. I've been tricked. They've got me coin. No one takes a leprechaun's gold.
And the movie goes on from there. All the characters, the chemistry, they were all great. I thought they all did a great job. The humor was great. The serious moments, it was great. As a kid, the Leprechaun was scary as hell. And sometimes, I mean, in my mind, like if I'm laying in bed in the dark and I think about the Leprechaun being under the bed, it's scary. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of scary. In a way. Maybe I'm just a wuss, I don't know. But yeah, so it basically ends with Jennifer Aniston's character going to find Mr. O'Grady in the recovery home that he was in to find out how to kill the Leprechaun. And she found out 4-leaf clover has to touch him and then they can kill him. And it ended with that. They finally found a 4-leaf clover, got it to the Leprechaun, was able to kill him. But of course, as all horror movies, you don't really kill the villain. You really just don't. They never die. They always come back, no matter whether it makes sense or doesn't. That's kind of the good thing about horror movies is it doesn't have to make sense, you know? So that was the best one of my favorite one anyways. And then the second one introduces no connection at all whatsoever. The way the first one ended and the second one began, it's like, how did the Leprechaun come back from that well at the end of the first one? You know, but the second one just starts off with him and this guy. He was basically held in prison due to the fact that he tried taking his gold from him. He just kept him as a prisoner, and he was looking for a bride. The Leprechaun itself was looking for a bride. It was his birthday, St. Patty's Day, and he had to blow. He just had to like blow 3 times. That just sounds so terrible, you know what I mean? But if you guys saw the movie, you know what I'm talking about. And the girl that he chose for his bride, she had to sneeze 3 times, and then she would be his bride. But as soon as someone would say God bless you, no matter what language it was, if he said God bless you, that would just ruin it. So the prisoner the Leprechaun had found out it was his daughter he was trying to wed. So he said God bless you, the Leprechaun got mad, screwed it all up. He killed the guy. The girl found out that it was her dad. So basically that's how the second one starts off. But that was like back into time. And then years later, the Leprechaun hunts down the girl, but finds a girl that looks like, it must have been like an ancestor of some sort from back in the day. But he found a girl in the future. Her name was Bridget, and she looked just like the girl he tried to wed in the beginning. So the Leprechaun was trying to hunt her down to find her, and Cody, which is Bridget's boyfriend, they come across the gold somehow. I don't want to go into full details because it would just be a really long video if I do. They come across the gold, and the Leprechaun wants his gold back, wants to wed, and alright, I know that just made no sense, but basically Cody was just trying to save Bridget. He came across the gold coin, and the Leprechaun wanted his gold back. And with Cody having that gold coin, the Leprechaun wasn't able to hurt him. So the Leprechaun was like not gonna give him Bridget back, and Cody wanted Bridget, so he said, "I'll give you the gold coin if you give me Bridget." The Leprechaun said no because he wanted his bride. He's not gonna give the bride up for his gold coin, no matter what. He wanted the gold coin, and he would let Cody survive. That was pretty much the deal, and they couldn't have come to terms for a deal of some sort. And it just goes on from there. And then you have Morty, which was the driver of the hearse tour that they had. I know I sound so terrible trying to review these movies and explain, but I'm trying to go into full details and make this video so long. But Morty was another main character. Basically, it's Morty, Bridget, and Cody as the main characters, just going up against the Leprechaun. That's the story of that. This took place in Hollywood, I believe. And then, of course, the way it ends was there was a tree at a certain spot where the Leprechaun had his hideout and territory, and he obviously captured Bridget, and that's where she was held hostage. And Cody found out where she would be, so he went to help her. And at some point during the movie, got a chocolate gold coin, and was able to trick the Leprechaun into thinking he got the gold coin back. So he was able to get Bridget and kill the Leprechaun at the same time, so they would escape. And of course, the way that the second one ends does not make sense with how the third one starts. That's what you expect, I guess, with some franchises like this. But they're still really good and enjoyable in their own way. And this one was more humor than the first one. It was somewhat one of the other serious ones, but at the same time more humor than the first one. And then it goes into the third one, which starts off with this older guy going to a pawn shop with the statue of the leprechaun that had a medallion on him. The medallion is what kept the leprechaun to stay as a statue. Again, makes no sense. How did that happen? I don't know. But had nothing to do with the second one, I can tell you that. And the pawn shop owner took the medallion off the leprechaun, which the leprechaun just came back, left the pot of gold to trick the pawn shop owner. The pawn shop owner, of course, was going to take the gold. And again, you don't take the leprechaun's gold. You just don't. So the leprechaun was going to kill the guy if he took his gold. He was going to at least make him be in pain for trying to steal the gold. And the leprechaun thought he took all his gold, dropped one. The pawn shop owner was able to get it. And of course, the leprechaun wanted that one gold coin he lost, so he was going after the pawn shop owner like, "You're dead. That's it. You're done, kid. I'm getting my gold coins back." And then you get introduced to a couple of the main characters, which is Scott, who is supposedly on his way to some kind of college, and he drove through Las Vegas, where the movie takes place, just to see what it was like, since he was going to be driving through it anyways. And I think it's Tammy, I believe, the girl that he meets. She was having car issues. He almost hit her when she was on the side of the road. So he stopped. He was willing to drive her to work, because she worked with the magician Fazio at the casino. And so he drove her to work. He wanted to go into the casino and check out to see what it was like. He's never been to Las Vegas. So she let him go in. Mind to say that this dude was underage. But then when the casino owner came along, he kind of knew he was underage, but he saw he had a check of money that he was supposed to be using for school. He was like, "All right, you're old enough, we want that money. You're old enough, you can stay here." Tammy told him not to gamble, to just check it out and then leave, but he decided to gamble. He ended up spending all his money. He went to the pawn shop where the pawn shop owner was killed by the leprechaun. He found the dead body, he came across the gold coin, and he made a wish. He ended up in the casino on a winning streak, so he just stayed at the hotel. And of course, the leprechaun knew his gold coin was missing. He can sniff it out, he'll find it. So he ended up going to the casino, just running through Las Vegas, had a lot of funny, humorous moments. Now this one is where like the movies became more humor than anything. It just lost all the seriousness. It was all humor. And the leprechaun ends up going to the casino, the hotel at the casino, to get his gold coin. He comes across Scott. He ends up biting him, and then Scott stabs him in the forehead, and his green blood drips into the bite wound that the leprechaun gave him. And basically it was turning Scott into a leprechaun. And then that's where it goes from there. Tammy and Scott is just trying to escape the leprechaun, of course, because he had the gold coin. And the way this one ended, they set the leprechaun on fire. And again, the endings of the movies to the next have no connection. Because of course, after the third one, we all know this one, Leprechaun 4 in Space. This is where it's just boom. No serious whatsoever, nothing but humor. And part 4, it was still fun, it was watchable. It's the Leprechaun. It was Warwick Davis, it was the Leprechaun. It was still enjoyable, but it was my least favorite. I did not like the whole space atmosphere. It was decent, but still I did not like it. It was basically the way it started off was there were these group of, I'm gonna just say bounty hunters. I don't know exactly what they would be considered, and they were going to kill this alien, which was the Leprechaun. And he was holding this queen hostage. I guess he was trying to become the king of some sort. And when they ended up finding the area in the cave where the leprechaun was, they of course thought it was an alien. They were trying to fight him and kill him. And, you know, it came to the point where the leprechaun and these people were having a shootout together. And then the girl that he had prisoner, she ended up coming out when one of the guys was throwing a grenade at the leprechaun, and the leprechaun tried to save the girl, so he jumped on the grenade. Boom, he explodes into pieces, body parts everywhere. And one of the dudes decides to pee on the leprechaun's leg. And the leprechaun's magic powers shocked him right in the crotch. Ooh. Later on in that movie, rebirth of the leprechaun coming out of the guy's crotch pretty much, you know? And it's just them and the leprechaun going back and forth. And during the scene where they blew up the leprechaun, they were taking all the gold and all that, the jewelry. So the leprechaun, you know how that goes. He wants his gold. And the way that ends is the Leprechaun basically turning big. They finally destroyed him and got his body, I believe, out of the spaceship, just in space, and that's how it ends. And it's like, no connection. The next one, Leprechaun, which is part 5, but it's not called part 5. Leprechaun in the Hood. Now this, again, nothing but humor. It's just no serious anymore. It's basically starts off with Leprechaun again being a statue, I believe, and has the medallion on him. And Ice-T and another dude. This scene basically, I guess, takes place in the 70s of some sort. They all had afros and stuff. And they found the gold, the treasure and all that. They tried to kill the Leprechaun. I think they took the medallion off. I think that's what happened. Or they knocked the statue over and the medallion fell off. I can't remember exactly. And of course, again, you're taking jewelry or gold from the Leprechaun. He's coming at you. So he killed them. Actually, no, Ice-T survived. You gotta remember, Ice-T survived. And then years later, you're introduced to these characters who are trying to become known in the rap industry. And Ice-T, I believe, owned a label or some sort. So these guys are trying to come into getting signed by Ice-T. And they end up trying to rob stuff from Ice-T. I think that's what happened. Ice-T got this medallion back on the Leprechaun. And he stored them in his house with the gold, the jewelry, flutes, and the Leprechaun statue. So, you know, stuff happens throughout the movie. Those young kids trying to get into the rap industry have situations with Ice-T. So they rob his house, and they made the mistake of unleashing the Leprechaun. And then it goes from there, Leprechaun hunting down his gold and jewelry, going after everybody and taking out everybody in his way. And then again, I don't remember exactly how that one ended, but when the credits rolled, the Leprechaun was rapping and possessed some girls for background singers. And it was a really good one. It was one of my favorites. A lot better than In Space, I can say that. And then again, the next one, part 6, goes to Leprechaun Back to the Hood. I haven't seen that one in a while, so I can't really give a full review or in-depth review of that one. But I believe, from what I do remember, I enjoyed it a lot more than In the Hood. Back to the Hood was better. Again, not too much of a connection. I think there was a very slight connection, but not too much. And then it goes on to, as you can see right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Back in the Hood. And then it goes to Leprechaun Origins, which was beginning to, like, continuing on the Leprechaun movies, had nothing to do with the other movies whatsoever. It was just like a leprechaun creature, nothing like the Leprechaun you see here. Wasn't even Warwick Davis, nothing. It was just about these group of kids going to Ireland, I believe. I haven't seen it in a long time, so I can't give a full review or anything. I do remember enjoying it. I believe it was a WWE film, new WWE Studios. I believe it was made from them, and Hornswoggle was the Leprechaun. So it was a decent movie. I did enjoy it a lot better than In Space, I can say that. But that's basically all the movies that was connected to the whole Leprechaun franchise. And then a couple years ago, or 3 years ago or so, they announced that they were doing a Leprechaun Returns movie after Origins, a direct sequel to the original Leprechaun. But I don't know exactly what happened, but Warwick Davis decided not to take part of it. Whether it was on his end or director's end, I don't know. But this is a direct sequel to the first one. It starts off with basically showing the ending of the first one with the Leprechaun in the well, and basically just getting killed in the well. And Ozzy's character, same actor, Ozzy's character makes a return in this one. And the main girl character in this movie was supposed to be Tori, Jennifer Aniston's character's daughter. And they were using the same old house. I don't know if in real life it was the same exact old house used in the first one. In this movie, it was the same house that everything took place in the original Leprechaun movie. So it was a direct sequel taking place at the same house. And a group of kids would turn it into like a sorority house, a frat house of some sort. I can't remember exactly which. And the new guy that played this Leprechaun, I thought he did a good job. The voice was okay, a little too high pitched, but the voice was decent. And I didn't like the makeup effects on, as you can see here. I mean, it was a lot better than Origins. It was actually supposed to look more like the Leprechaun. I thought he did a decent job. It was great to see Ozzy come back and make a return. And it actually involved Jennifer Aniston's character, Tori's daughter, which I thought was good for part of the story, even though didn't have any connection to Jennifer Aniston or like that, and like had no cameo in the movie. It basically, I think she went to some kind of like nut house of some sort, if I remember correctly, and she ended up dying there. So, and I think there was a voicemail that the daughter listened to and supposed to sound like Jennifer Aniston, and that was their only way of having her somewhat in the movie. But it was actually decent. It was a good watch. But that's the best review I can give for that one, as it's been a while. And so I would say from worst to best, we're doing worst from best. Basically, like the top, how many movies? 3, 4, 7. We're doing the top 8. 8 being the worst. Leprechaun in Space, Leprechaun Origins, Leprechaun in the Hood, Leprechaun Back to the Hood. Then we're gonna go to Leprechaun 3, and then we're gonna go to Leprechaun Returns. Then we're gonna go to Leprechaun 2, and of course, the number 1, the original Leprechaun. And if you guys are wondering why I ranked Leprechaun Returns so high, it's because I just liked how it was a direct sequel. I understand it wasn't Warwick Davis, but that was the only downfall, I thought. But rewinding back to why these movies had so much humor, from what I read, it was Warwick Davis's idea to have so many campy humor to it. It was his idea. He just wanted it that way, I guess. And from the first one, when they, at the end, when Alex said, "F you, Lucky Charms," I guess at one point Lucky Charms was gonna have their cereal brand in the movie, but as you saw in that final edit, it actually had Lucky Clovers, I think they used, because Lucky Charms pulled out and backed out because I guess they saw what the movie was like and wanted nothing to do with it. So at the end, that F you Lucky Charms was basically a shot at Lucky Charms itself. But I'm gonna give a quick rundown again of my top here. I don't know if I actually left anything out, but I'm gonna go from the top 8. We're gonna go to Leprechaun in Space. I'm looking on the case right here. We got Leprechaun in Space I'm starting off with. Then we're going to go to Leprechaun Origins. So that's 2. I know there's 8. Then we're going to go to Leprechaun in the Hood. Leprechaun Back to the Hood. Then we're going to go to Leprechaun 3. Leprechaun Returns, right here. Then Leprechaun 2. And of course Leprechaun 1. Though that's right there is my worst to best. But guys, that's actually going to do it for this video. Just wanted to make a St. Patrick's Day themed video for you guys related to, of course, the horror franchise of the Leprechaun. One of my beloved favorite franchises of all time. Nostalgia. A lot of memories there. I still watch them every year, every St. Patrick's Day, the whole month of March. I literally watch these movies all day, whether it's on TV edited or on demand or on my Blu-rays here. Man, but guys, leave some comments down below. Let me know what you think about the franchise, if you enjoyed them, what your ranks for the movies are, and what are you doing for the celebrate St. Patrick's Day? Whether it's like me, just sitting here watching the movies, or actually, you know, doing something, having a couple drinks. I mean, I'm not having any drinks, even though I got this sitting here. I just, you know, don't really care much for that anymore. But guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you enjoy videos similar to this, or just seeing collections, Pokemon Go, food reviews, I'm gonna kind of like a little rap right here. Everything out and about. Give me a shout. No, I'm just kidding. That was just horrible. But yeah, no, if you're into content like that, this channel is for you. I do it all. Go check out my other videos. And like I said, this channel is for you if you're into that kind of content. But guys, please subscribe if you're not. And if you are subscribed already, thank you. I appreciate it very much. Guys, I will see you all later in the next one. Everybody take care. Go get that gold. Just watch out for that Leprechaun. He wants his gold if you're going to get it. I'll see you all later. Take care.